Pectus Warriors, what's going on? It's Riley Byrne. This is the video you've all been waiting for, how to correct the anterior pelvic tilt. Alright, so I know most of you have an anterior pelvic tilt because it's commonly associated with pectus, just like the kyphosis of the spine, which makes the indent look worse. Then the anterior pelvic tilt will make the pot belly look worse. So you've got the lordosis and the anterior pelvic tilt. Then you've got, I'll just come back a little bit so you can maybe see better. So you've got the anterior pelvic tilt. So basically, to summarize what anterior pelvic tilt is, if you don't know, but I'm sure you do because it's pretty obvious, it's an anterior rotation of the pelvis. So the pelvis rotates forward, the bum sticks out, and then we've also got kyphosis associated with this. And basically, it's just a fucked up postural position that makes the indent look a lot more prominent, and it makes the pot belly look prominent. Because if you think about it, you're doing this, and this sticks out, and it just looks horrible. You look like an inactive, immobile, incapable, unfunctional human. And that's unfortunately the reality for a lot of us with pectus. But don't be upset because we can't correct it, okay? So, anterior pelvic tilt. Let's go to what causes anterior pelvic tilt. It is caused by tight hip flexors, okay? These things in here, tight hip flexors. Now they get tight just due to modern sedentary habits most of the time. So just sitting down all the time. When you're sitting down a bit, they're in a shortened position and they're getting tight, okay? So we need to stretch the hip flexors. So how do we do that? Some simple stretches. I'll put some of them on the screen. So we want to stretch and loosen the hip flexors. The other part of the body that we want to stretch is the lower back, the lumbar spine, even the thoracic spine, okay? You want to roll that, you want to loosen that up, okay? Because that's going to be really tight. So they're the two tight areas that are contributing to the anterior pelvic tilt. Hip flexors and your lower back all up in here. And you may actually be experiencing lower back pain, which is highly correlated with the anterior pelvic tilt, and it's an all interconnected problem. The next thing we need to do is we need to strengthen some muscles. So any kind of postural imbalance any kind of postural condition is typically associated with a muscular imbalance, whether it's tight muscles and weak muscles, okay? So for this, yeah, like I've said, tight hip flexors, tight lower back, but then we have weak glutes and weak abdominals, and they kind of work like it works symbiotically together. So tight, think about it, and this is overstretched all the time. So this is just not getting active or engaged at all, and that's just going to further accentuate the pot belly, the rib flare and everything. We want to have a strong core just to help keep that all tight. So we stretch this and then we need to work this. Now, how do we work the abs? The best way to work the abs, when it comes to anterior pelvic tilt, a lot of my favorite ab movements like the hanging leg raise, etc., but they actually do involve a bit of hip flexor recruitment, especially if you do them wrong. For example, in the hanging leg raise, this first portion of the movement from the legs down here to here is mostly hip flexors. It's only actually when the pelvis tilts that we engage the abs more. So some good options is some hip flexor free movements, such as a simple side plank or a simple plank or heavy farmer's carries. Movements that are going to take away from hip flexor dominance, okay? So we really want to try and strengthen these abdominals. Side planks and planks are like two of my go-tos for that. And that's going to help, but the other thing we really want to try to strengthen is our glutes and our hamstrings, because as soon as we strengthen the glutes, they'll pull you in, strengthen the abs, stretch that, and you become in line with your posture, okay? So how do we strengthen the glutes? You could do a heels elevated, like box hip thrust. That's having the feet elevated a little bit. It's going to take a little bit more of a stretch off the hip flexors, and we just come through and we squeeze our glutes to the tops. So hip thrusts, you could do your Romanian deadlifts, work those hamstrings and those glutes. Isolation movements for the hamstrings, like the lying leg curl, and we want to strengthen them. A lot of people go to stretch their hamstrings because you're going to find that your hamstrings are tight if you have anterior pelvic tilt. The reason your hamstrings are tight is because the postural position of the anterior pelvic tilt is resulting in the lengthening of your hamstrings, right? So there's more room for them to be tight. If you think about it, they're here, they're not going to feel tight. All of a sudden you're almost already stretching them. So we don't want to stretch it more because that's just going to exasperate, however you say that word, basically accentuate the extent of your anterior pelvic tilt. So we actually want to strengthen these, strengthen that, loosen that, strengthen that, and boom, okay? And then also with pectus and posture, you're going to have that kyphosis as well, rounding forward shoulders, and again, that's the muscular imbalance of the chest and the back. I've talked about that a lot. So for that, you want to stretch this and strengthen your rear delts, your rhomboids, your lats. Okay, but anyway, that's going on to another topic. So anyway, guys, they're my tips on anterior pelvic tilt. I hope that was helpful. I know you guys have been waiting a long time for that video, so hopefully it met your expectations. Again, thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and if you liked it, please give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Comment video suggestions.